So hello. This is for notes for Aaron. Notes from Aaron. Sorry. Yeah.
I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
So this is my Women's History Month series. So I wanted to highlight women who I am impressed by, some of my favorite women, and then also women who have cool newsletters that you can also subscribe to. So up first is Kristen. And Kristen was a guest on my podcast called the Creative Canvas Podcast. You should listen to it. But from that conversation, I kind of talked about how I met Kristen from a book club that I was in. But Kristen, if you could give readers of my newsletter an intro about yourself, and I guess since this is Women's History Month, maybe you can highlight one of your favorite things about being a woman also.
Ooh, what a wonderful question.
Thank
First of all,
you.
hi. It's so good to see you. It's great to be here. Yeah, my name is Kristen Berry. I am a PR executive, but I also am an author with a book coming out in June called We Don't Talk About Carol, my very first novel. I'm very excited about it. And I also have a newsletter that I'm trying very hard to post more frequently on. You can find it on Substack just by searching Kristen L. Berry. It's called Books Are Life because books are my life. Reading them, writing them, all of the above.
Okay. And then your favorite part about being a woman.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, my favorite part about being a woman. I appreciate how we can embody so many different aspects of ourselves in a way that's okay in society. So I guess what I mean by that is like we can really be in our feminine energy. I'm really like dressed in my pastels right now. I was also dressed in my pastels at the gym yesterday while also deadlifting an impressive amount of weight, so like potentially being in my more masculine energy. So I like that we can kind of be all things and that's acceptable. Where I do feel like even though we've made progress in terms of gender norms and expectations, it can be harder for men to maybe show more sensitive sides of themselves or things like that. So I like that I can kind of fully embody all the aspects of who I am in that way.
No, I love it. And I love the deadlift because I feel like I'm getting more into my fitness era, going to the gym. Like, I feel like you're one of the people I turned to when I first was going to the gym because I remember you gave me that long Google doc of all the workouts.
Yes.
I really just looked at that the other day. But I think that is good because I feel like it's balanced. We can be multiple sides. I never thought about it that way, but I think that's one of the things I like about being a woman too.
Yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. I have to be all the things that I feel in any given moment, and sometimes it's different. Sometimes I don't feel that strong.
That's true. So I guess going back into your love of reading, we'll talk about your book soon because I'm very excited about your book. But I guess one question that I had is what got you into reading, and then also, if you can remember, what was one of your favorite early book or your early favorite books? Not
Yeah,
a weird way to say that, but like one of your favorite books from when you were young.
yeah, I totally get the question. Honestly, I've been a voracious reader for as long as I can truly remember. But I think it has to have something to do with my parents. Like my dad was always a big reader growing up, and then also I have so many memories of, back in Michigan on cold wintry weekends going to Barnes and Noble with my mom and my little sister and just spending hours there just browsing the shelves, getting a cup of hot cocoa and yeah, so like I think like it's just been such a part of my childhood, honestly. And then I actually have a lot of my childhood books here in my home library in Los Angeles. Library. It's a guest room that has bookshelves in it. But so Paddington, Madeline, The Babysitter's Club, like all of those were I was really into. And then I always imagined writing a novel of my own one day, but reading Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon in high school like really solidified that for me. I was like, "Oh, it's possible to write like this? Let me try to get anywhere close to her level one day."
No, I love that. And I also love the vast difference from like Babysitter's Club to Toni Morrison. uh, I think like for me, I was a Babysitter's Club girl, but I also was like Goosebumps was one of my favorite series. Like I would read them all.
Yeah, same.
Um, I also was like a Sweet Valley High girl. I don't know if like have an equivalent to that now, but Sweet Valley High was so good to me. I loved it. And then
That's
Teen Titans.
true. Okay, never got there. But I did dabble into Sweet Valley High. And
Yeah,
it
it was
felt very grown up, you know. They dealt with some serious, topics, I feel like, in that
yes.
series.
No, and I think even like when they converted from the book series to the show, I feel like it was still very salacious. It was good.
Yeah, I was into it.
And I think for me, like it didn't make me want to be a writer, but my favorite Toni Morrison book, like I remember I read Jazz for the first time. My stepmom had it on her bookshelf. I feel like I was amazed by that book.
She's an artist, for
Hmm.
sure.
No, and I guess since we talked about that, we could talk about your debut book. So, I guess you kind of talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to get a little bit deeper into like what inspired you to write this book, and then also how has your personal journey as a woman somewhat influenced your storytelling, and I think also because Carol is Carol and she's a woman, so I think that that would be interesting to know.
Yeah, definitely. So, just for some background on the overall premise, We Don't Talk About Carol follows my protagonist, Sydney, as she searches for her missing aunt, who is one of six black girls to disappear from the same neighborhood in Raleigh, North Carolina in the 60s. And so, to unravel the mystery, she's forced to confront the missing memories of her troubled father and the impact of her family's past on her own decision about whether to have children herself. So, what inspired it? I mean, the novel really encompasses suspense as well as family drama, and those are the two genres of fiction that I'm most drawn to as a reader. And so early into the COVID lockdown, I decided to try writing a novel again after a 15-year hiatus. And so I just started thinking about like, okay, what would I really want to read right now? Like what would really attract me if I walked into a bookstore and picked up a book on a table, and I really wanted to find a way to combine those two genres into one story. I'd been fascinated by true crime for a really long time by that point, and I was listening to a lot of true crime podcasts during my like socially distanced COVID walks through my neighborhood. And it was while listening to some of those podcasts, I learned that there are some really disturbing discrepancies when it comes to the cases of missing people of color in this country. For example, Black Americans are going missing at a disproportionately high rate, yet our cases are less likely to be covered by the press and less likely to be solved. So I was really interested in finding a way of amplifying and bringing, shedding light on that issue in the story. And then another key storyline within the novel has to do with my protagonist, Sydney's conflicting feelings about motherhood. At the outset of the novel, she and her husband are on their third round of IVF for a baby that her husband is desperate to have, but that Sydney is no longer certain that she actually wants. And I think that that was something that I was interested in exploring in this book as well. Just that I think that, you know, there's an expectation, I feel like, for women to be very eager to become mothers, or at least have a very definitive idea of where they stand on whether they want to be mothers or not. And I think that a lot of people might fall in a bit of a gray area on that, or have conflicting feelings about that choice. And so that was something that I was really interested in exploring here as well.
No, I love that because I think you kind of touch on something that I feel like more recently I've been learning more about the gray areas of people wanting to have kids. I feel like before, I don't know if maybe because we're becoming a certain age, like we're over 30, maybe people are having more of those conversations, but I think prior, I think I would always just assume, but I'm like, I don't even know where I stand on that either, but I think I had never really thought about it or really paid attention to what people's about that were since we were getting older, as we got
Yeah.
older.
No, it's true. I mean, and like Sydney and I, we were both in our late 30s when I started writing this novel. And it's an age when, like, at least for me, I felt like I was becoming bombarded by questions about when or if I was going to have kids, like from friends, from family, from my doctors. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like a lot of pressure all of a sudden to make these choices. And I was also surprised by how casually some people would ask those questions or make comments. And so, yeah, I was interested in really exploring that, especially if you're somebody like Sydney who has a lot of unresolved childhood, trauma and some, some dark things that have happened in her family, like how that can also have an even greater impact on that difficult decision making process.
No, I think that that's good because I think too, like knowing your family history or the things that you deal with, also they also kind of like shape what you want for your future and what you're looking to do. I think also one thing that I'm really excited about with your book is because I really like books too where they go from one generation to another generation and they kind of like seamlessly go through both. So I guess for you also, like what made you decide to take that point of view versus like just sticking in one of the time periods, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so actually, it's funny, I don't read that much historical fiction. And so I also wanted to touch on what it was like living in North Carolina in the 1960s without spending too much time actually there. So the vast, vast, vast majority of the story is told from Sydney's perspective in the present tense, and in the current in our current timeline. But we do get a bit of Carol's perspective through some diary entries sprinkled throughout the novel. But I know one of my reasons for choosing that too is that I think that I really wanted to keep the reader in Sydney's perspective as much as possible, and so that anything that the reader learns about what happened to these missing girls, Sydney has to figure out on her own. You're not learning things by being in Carol's perspective too much. So that was also like a specific choice I wanted to make, just to bring the reader along, excuse me, on the process of figuring out what happened.
Oh no, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to read. Like I keep telling you, like I'm just very excited. Um, okay, so I think also keeping that too. So like because I've been so excited, like yeah. Okay, because I've been so excited, I feel like I keep saying that over and over again. But I've been reading like to see what people have been saying about it. I also see like sometimes on social you'll reshare when someone does a post or something about the book. So I guess for you, like well, I guess it's kind of like twofold. So I know to write a book, you have like your literary agent, you have people who give you feedback about what you wrote. So I think like for one side, how has feedback impacted how you wrote your story or kind of helped you shape some of the narrative? And then also feedback from people reading the book and seeing some of I don't know if you're reading the reviews, but like some of the stuff that people have been saying, like how does that shape like your excitement or how you're feeling, and then also if you decide to do anything like another book going forward.
Yeah, no, really, really good questions. I mean, I am a big proponent of getting feedback on your work as early and as often as possible, only because I wrote a novel years and years ago that I shelved because I wrote the entire thing. I was certain it was perfect. And then I joined a writing group, had them read it, and then they all had the same criticisms, and those criticisms rang true to me, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to rewrite this entire thing, and I don't want to do that, so I'm going to put this in a shelf and work on something else. um, and so in writing We Don't Talk About Carol, I was already in a writing group. They actually read every chapter as I wrote it. Like every month we would meet to critique each other's work and give each other feedback. And so getting their feedback all along as I was writing it was so helpful because I could, see which aspects of the story were working, which might need a little bit, more work, what questions they had about my character and their like, motivations, things like that. And so I could make tweaks as I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to the end of that first draft, it was actually the book now and the first draft are there are changes, but the storyline is the same.
Oh,
Like
that's good.
Yeah, and I think it's really because I was able to get that input as I went. And then, yeah, I mean, it was really wonderful working with my literary agent. We went through a couple rounds of revision before going out to submit on submission to editors at publishing houses. And the main thing when choosing my agent and then ultimately speaking with my editor before we decided to work together, one of the main things I was looking for were people whose opinions I respected and whose advice and feedback rang true to me.
Hmm.
Because I wanted the book to be the best it could be, and I had felt like I'd gotten it to the best place I could do on my own. But it was really helpful to get input from professionals in the industry, and I really appreciated that they understood the story, they understood what I was trying to accomplish, and sometimes saw that even more clearly than I did, and so could pinpoint, where I might need to provide a little bit more backstory for some of the characters, or areas where I could maybe cut some words back and improve the pacing of the story. So all that was very useful. And then when it comes to reviews, I've read and heard a lot about how authors choose to or engage with reviews or not engage with reviews. And what I've decided is reviews are like Goodreads, Storygraph reviews. It's none of my business.
Okay.
That's for the readers. Those are the places for the readers to interpret the book as they want to, as it they can determine how well the story works for them or not. At that point, it's out in the world. It's no longer mine. People are able to make their own opinions. Though I will say, there was an early reader who wrote a really lovely review on Goodreads, and she reached out to me on Instagram to share it with me, and that was so heartwarming and special. And so I think that, yeah, I at this we'll see if this changes as time goes on, but I don't want to get too bogged down in people's comments because at the end of the day, I can't convince them now,
Yeah.
how they should interpret the book. That's up to them to decide if, the book spoke to them or not. And then, yeah, maybe I'll ask at some point if my agent or my editor will, could cherry pick some for me that I should take a look at. And other than that, I'll try to stay away.
No, I like that because I feel like too, it's because you're a creative. So like I know when you see some people who are like actors, they may not go to see their movie when it comes out, like they may never watch it. It's kind of like putting themselves out there and then letting people take with it what they want. Um, yeah, yeah. Because I like when I used to write, so like I used to do journalism for a really long time. Well, like 8 years, not hell long, but
It's a pretty
like
long time.
okay, thank you. I feel like there was certain things that I would want to see people's reviews or like their feedback about, but I think it was more so like interviews, not like articles. I think sometimes when I would see the articles and see people's feedback, either I felt like I needed to respond back to them, which is like you should make people feel a way about their opinions because you gave them content they digest it the way they want. So it took me a while to kind of get out of like, oh, let me see what they're saying about this. Because I think it too, I think sometimes too, like seeing so much of what people say also, for me individually, sometimes it would kind of shape how I would think about something going forward. And I'm like, I have my opinion too, or what I'm doing, so I want it to be authentic to myself.
That is very true. Like I am permeable.
Hmm.
So like if I read too much, too many comments, it could impact me as I'm writing. Though I did like maybe last week kind of peek at some of the Goodreads reviews just to like see how it landed with me. Right now, everyone is being very lovely and very constructive. I know that won't last as far as like the constructive piece because people, are very honest on those sites. But I was impressed that there were a few constructive criticisms that I read, and I was like, you know what? I own that. Yeah, I am a little long-winded. I do wish I could have cut some pages out. I don't, but you're also asking me to add some additional information.
Yeah.
Can't do both. So I was just at least happy that I was able to take the constructive criticism in stride, and I didn't, think about it for the rest of the day or anything like that. So I think it's also a muscle that I'm just going to have to strengthen is seeing negative criticism or constructive criticism and not have it impact me too much.
No, and I will say like, well, I've been reading them, and I am just very proud to be your friend. Uh,
Oh, that's so nice.
well, no, because like you have friends that do stuff. Like I'll have a friend that will be like, "Oh, I'm going to do blah blah blah," and then you're like, "Oh, okay." But like when I knew that you were writing a book, I knew that the book would be good because you like. I always tell you like I get so many of my recommendations from you. Like I remember when I first met you and you were talking about books and book club and stuff like that. Like I, you have like a like I don't know, like I had a feeling it would be good because I don't think you would put your name on something that wasn't either.
Thank you, friend. I really appreciate that. I mean, and it was very, very, very helpful. Also, having the opportunity to work with my agent and my editor to like really polish the book and also get that professional stamp of approval. Like, like no, this should be published. This should be out in the world. Was really wonderful. So, but no, I really appreciate hearing that from you because you're also like who I get so many of my book,
Yeah,
music,
thank you.
TV, movie recommendations from. Like I really appreciate your perspective. So I will be curious to get your thoughts once you read it.
No, I'm so excited. I've already made all my book club people get it too. So we're on the pre-orders. I'm very excited. And I guess also like speaking of putting your name into the world, let's talk about the cover because I love the cover. What was the process of selecting your cover? And then also, like I would imagine like you know that you have this book coming out. It's something that you know is coming, but I would imagine having the book in your hands to be able to see your work and everything. Like what was the process of selecting the cover, and then also what were your feelings once you were actually able to like see it in the physical form too?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was. I heard at some point, maybe on a podcast, speaking with authors, that authors are often asked for their thoughts about potential cover direction, and then I received a really lovely email from my publishing team asking what are the key visual moments within the novel, or what are the key themes? Do you have what book covers do you love? What book covers do you not like? So I made a deck and gave them lots of answers to their questions, but I had one specific idea in my head about what the cover could look like, and I really there's a moment that kind of repeats within the novel that has to do with this blue hydrangea bush. It's a little, there's some sinister moments that take place around that, and I really wanted to find a way of like incorporating that into the book cover. And so I gave them a very specific suggestion. Could we play on this? Here's some reference images. But, you all are the professionals. I know a lot goes into making these cover selections beyond just my opinion. So feel free to let me know what you think would work best. So I was really, really pleasantly surprised when I saw the final cover. I actually have one here. Let me see if I can
Oh
pick one
yeah.
up. It's an advanced reader copy, so it's not like the hardcover,
Oh,
but
it's so pretty though.
thank you. And I really loved it that they decided the market lights were their idea and they
Of
included this
course.
like burned out light at the top there.
Uh,
And I was like, ooh, I like that. It feels very sinister. So, yeah, the fact that they took my suggestion and ran with it, just made me feel very like part of the process.
mhm.
And I really appreciated that. And it makes me excited now to like hold up this novel, beside me because it's not only my words, it's also my vision for the
Yeah.
packaging of it, which was so so cool. So that was a real wonderful experience.
Well, and I think it goes back to how you say too, like your literary agent and the team that you partnered with, they got your vision. I think that's also another example of that too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I've heard, so many varying experiences that people have had with their teams. And so I feel so, so fortunate to work with a team that, makes me feel like I'm being treated as a part of the process, and that they do really see and support that vision and just want to make it, its best, version. Like for example, with the market lights thing, like that was they took my initial concept and found ways to add to it to make it even stronger. And that's been, I think, how the entire experience of working with them has been. I'm so lucky to work with them.
No, literally. And I think too the thing that's nice too, because knowing that it's also like there's a mystery element too. I think even seeing like the light taken off, it's also kind of like, oh, okay, like it seems like it's all coming full circle, which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then I guess also like a little bit deeper too. Well, it's not that deep, but I know like from the podcast when we talked to you, were very like regimented on your schedule for writing. You had your mornings, you were doing your revisions, you were doing everything. Like now that your book will be out in the world, how are you going to spend your like I know you'll probably be doing like a lot of touring and going and talking about your book and stuff like that, but like what will you be doing with your newfound time, even though it's not gonna be all the time.
Well, it's funny because when I signed my deal with my editor, it was actually for two books, which
Okay.
was a real pleasant surprise. I had no idea that that would even be something that was requested of me, and it's for a completely separate book, so not like a sequel or a continuation of We Don't Talk About Carol. It's to do a completely different book. So the only thing about that is that that second book is technically due in July.
Okay. The military tie. Okay.
So honestly, now that I think all the edits are actually completed on the book, that was really the challenge for the last for the first or the last half of 2024 was trying to balance editing and revising and finalizing that first book while also getting started on the second book. I'll also be writing it much faster than I wrote the first book. The first book I started writing in 2020, and now it's coming out in 2025. The second book, well, I would have started writing in 2024, and it's supposed to come out in 2026 potentially. So, like, the pace is a lot faster this
Yes.
time.
But at least you have the groundwork from your first book that at least you kind of know a little bit of the flow, even though you have to write really fast. It reminds me of like when we were talking about that book. Oh gosh, of course I'm drawing the blank. The book with Jennifer Garner, and remember they're doing like the
Oh, the last thing he told me, I
yes,
think.
and for the second season, or the author is writing the book in real time or something, and we're like, that's really fast. That's like your equivalent.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So yeah, I've been trying to be very regimented about waking up at 4:30 most weekdays to write as much as possible before work, and then also really trying to say no to most invitations on the weekends. To be honest, especially anything during the day, because while I try to protect my mornings as much as possible, I still have a full time job, so I can only commit so much of those mornings on a consistent basis. And the weekends are really the only time that I can truly dedicate to my writing. So, yeah, it's a lot of trying to learn how to say no to people, which is hard for me, but I have to do it.
Your year of no versus Shonda's year of yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I guess like this could be like a weird question, but I just thought about it when you said that. So when you're writing, so Sydney is your protagonist of the story. When you are writing as a protagonist, like this could be a weird question. So just
Go for it.
but how do you like jump in and out of someone else? So like because I would imagine when you're writing as the person, you're kind of like taking their perspectives and their thoughts. Like how easy is it to go between Sydney and Kristen, or if it is it anything? Like I've never wrote a book, so I don't know if it's because it's something for a long period of time too.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair question. I mean, I think for me, before I start writing anything, I ask myself a lot of questions about who this person is. I try to like come figure out exactly what they look like, exactly what they wear, what car do they drive, what is their attachment style, like what are their essential emotional wounds and how does that manifest itself in their lives? Like I try to really get to know them so that I can like imagine them sitting across the table from me having a conversation. And so that really helps so that I can try to imagine, I can try to put myself in that person's shoes and think, okay, what would Sydney do in this situation knowing everything that I know about her? What would Sydney say in response to this person's question knowing everything that I know about her? And then the more I actually start writing in their perspective, the easier it is to jump back into their perspective because I've gotten to know them so well.
Okay, and that makes sense because I've always wondered that because I just read Good Dirt by Charmaine
Charmaine
Wilson.
Wilkerson. I'm excited to read that.
I think you will love it.
I loved
Well,
Black Cake, so
I know. So I think you will like it because I feel like one thing that she does really well is she, because I feel like she did this in Black Cake too. Like I think she can have like one central protagonist, but I feel like she can also kind of like have POVs from other people. They're not really a narrator, but it could be like their thoughts. And so that's something that she did with this book, but I was also curious because there's so many characters. Like I feel like Black Cake she did kind of go through like characters and I think she kind of went through different like time periods, but I feel like here there's like one central character, there's other characters, but then there's also time period. So I was also like reading it, it just seemed like it would like as my mind as a reader because you like you're reading all of these people. I always wonder how it is like writing all of those different perspectives because I would imagine like for myself, I've never had to write as anybody else but Aaron. But sometimes like if I'm like writing about music, I'm very like in my music bag. But if I'm writing about something else, I'm in something else. So I always have been curious about that.
yeah, I, mean, I think like just from your example though, you're also used to toggling like
Hmm.
music Aaron versus talking about books Aaron. So I think it's very similar. I will say, I mean, like the vast majority of the we don't talk about Carol is in Sydney's perspective, so I was at least able to largely exist only in one person's head while writing it. The next thing that I'm working on is currently a multi POV story.
Oh,
And that is actually proving to be somewhat challenging, trying
okay.
to embody all these different people and get to know each of them as deeply as I was able to get to know Sydney when I was writing the entire novel in her perspective. So we'll see how that goes.
No, I'm excited, and I'm excited to read about Carol and Sydney and everything. So I guess to kind of wrap it up and to kind of go back a little bit to Women's History Month, Women International Day. Um, I guess if you had like one thing that you would hope that your debut book does in terms of how it resonates with your female readers and what impact you wanted to have on their perspective, what would you say that that is?
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. Um, I think if we focus on the kind of motherhood plot line within the story, I think I just would like any anyone who might be questioning how they feel about becoming parents and maybe feeling potentially judged for having questions around that, then maybe they feel a little bit seen. And that, that's it's not that it's actually a more common, I think, feeling and experience than society might portray it to be. And so I think like that's one piece, and and also just like the importance of uh really dealing with and processing our pasts in order to be able to move forward in our futures. I think that's also something that I an important takeaway that I hope people have from reading this book.
I love it. And I guess, let's see, maybe like one more question to conclude. So,
Yeah.
since you have a book coming out and you are a woman, what would you say, or not what, but maybe who are some of your favorite female authors that you think people should read?
Ooh, yes. It's funny. I think that I primarily read books by women authors. I realized this when going through like everything that I read last year. I was like, "Oh, I really
I, well, I'm going to read James, but I think that that's only, and I read James McBride.
a lot of James content."
my favorite name on a man.
But yeah, there are a lot of female authors that I really look up to. And we talked about Toni Morrison. I have like 8 of her books on the bookshelf behind me right now. Homegoing by Ya Jesse.
Yes.
Love that book. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin.
I
Love
haven't read it, but
that.
it's on my list.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. It's
Okay.
so incredible. Anything Madeline Miller writes, so Circe, The Song of Achilles,
Okay.
love those. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I really hope she comes up with another book soon. Like, I am really craving another Britt Bennett novel in my life. And yeah, I was actually planning on talking about my excitement for Good Dirt because Black Cake was so phenomenal. I still can't believe that was a debut novel because that was so masterfully done. So I think I'm already like a Charmaine Wilkerson stan. So I'm excited to read this next book.
No, and I think the thing with Charmaine, which really upset me, is not about her, but like I feel like one way that people were gonna get into Black Cake is through the series, and for the series to be canceled when it was still so much left of the story to tell, it's disappointing because I feel like I know a lot of people who wanted to read the book after watching the show.
Definitely. Yeah, I know. And I loved the series too. I thought they did a really incredible job with bringing it to the screen. So I was also really gutted to hear that there was not going to be a season 2. I do need to read or watch season 2 of Pachinko, which I'm excited about because that was another really wonderful novel.
I feel like I need to read the book and then I'll watch the show because
I
it's been
think you
on my
should.
list. Like I keep adding stuff to my Goodreads that I need to read. I keep also trying to go between Goodreads and Storygraph, but Storygraph just does not motivate me. But it's too clean. Like I
Oh,
need
that's
to
why I love it. I love how clean it is.
know.
I love the charts that it provides, and I love that it is independently owned by a black woman.
I mean that's a nice part, but I feel like it gives me like Times New Roman, and I'm a Calibri girl.
I am a
Like
Calibri girl, so I do understand that piece. I do understand that piece.
I need some razzle dazzle, but I'll try it again.
Yeah. They're
Well,
constantly updating it, so it might be worth like, another peek.
okay, I'll peek behind the windows today. I have an account, I just don't use it.
I know it's hard to figure out the right system for you, and that's honestly like that's been something that has been a new experience for me is not being a vocal rater of books on either platform because I want to be a good literary citizen. So yeah, before I signed my book deal, I definitely deleted all of my reviews on Goodreads that were under 4 stars, and all of my comments around it.
Wow, because I was looking through my ratings a few days ago. I don't have that many that are super bad. Like I did give well, I yeah, I'll tell you offline. I gave one book a 1 star and I wrote like a really rude description. And it was a book that I was so excited about, but it was so like I was so confused.
This is why I've just kind of decided that like reviews are for the readers and they're not for me is because like I also know the feeling of being confused by a book or a book not working for me and then how if you go on Goodreads and find other people having the same experiences as you, it does make you feel like okay, I'm in a community with these people.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. Like I do understand that pleasure and so I also like feel like okay that's for the readers to digest and figure out on their own and also like no book should be for everybody like
Yeah.
as long as my novel finds its readers and the people who do find that it speaks to them like that's all I hope. I don't hope for everyone to rate it 5 stars even though that'd be great, that'd be cool, but I don't expect that.
Well, no, well, perfect. This has been great.
Yay! Always love. I feel like I could talk to you about books and writing for like hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, it's our jam. I love it. Well, yay. Well, thank you, friend.
It was my
And
absolute pleasure.
be sure to And what day does your book come out? June?
June 3rd. June 3rd. Available for pre-order now, which is awesome and exciting, and then it'll officially be out in the world on June 3rd.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put some pre-order links below. Well, you can't see, but I'll put it there. And make sure that you subscribe and that you pre-order Kristen's book. And yes,
Thank you so much. I'm like, how does Gen Z do it? I don't know.
I don't know, but that was what I was supposed to be
I feel
doing.
like I'm throwing up signs.
This is look at the game. It goes like this.
Right? It's like, yeah, it's like that, right?
Yeah, but that's such an unnatural feeling. Like, why would you do this?
I
You
just
should
feel
be
like
all,
I'm okay embracing my elder millennial status. I'm just gonna
yeah.
do it
Well,
like this.
I feel like this will give you like arthritis or something.
I
It
know
just
it
feels
feels
unnatural.
weird. It also looks like less like a heart. You have to be like very
Oh, yours
specific.
looks like a heart. Mine does not.
I'm having to really stretch.
I can't even do my stretch though.
I'm like, this is better. This is just like easy. I don't have to think about it. Like, yeah, we'll just do that. I'm a
That's good.
millennial. It's fine.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you, friend. Hold
So
on.
lovely to talk to you, Erin.